Welcome to the Boxing Gossip channel. Please hit subscribe if you are new. Instant reaction to Anthony Joshua versus Joseph Parker. Anthony Joshua wins by unanimous decision, still undefeated, unified heavyweight champion of the world. He gets taken the distance for the first time in his career by the tough and durable Joseph Parker. The judges, two of them scored it 10 rounds to 2. One of them scored it 11 rounds to 1. On my scorecard, I had it a tiny bit closer. I scored it 9 rounds to 3 in favour of Anthony Joshua, but still had Joshua a clear winner in the fight. Halfway through the fight, I actually felt it was competitive. After 6 rounds, I either had Joshua 4-2 up or 3-3. I thought it was a competitive fight. I thought the momentum was starting to go in Joseph Parker's favour. But to be fair to Joshua, we've questioned his stamina several times on this channel. He pretty much swept the entirety of the second half of the fight on my card and was the dominant performer for the second half. It was an odd fight. Don't get me wrong, it was interesting, it was engaging, but you kind of felt it was a fight that never truly caught fire. This was a fight that had the potential to be a barn burner. It had the potential to be a classic. I don't think it ever really hit those heights. This wasn't a Joshua Klitschko. It wasn't a Wilder Ortiz. There wasn't the thrills, the spills, the drama. At no point, I think both men took some punches in there, but at no point did either guy look badly hurt or like they were going to get knocked down. You could really say that there were very few points in the fight that either man looked like they'd been caught flush. Heavy punches were landed and exchanged, but never completely flush, completely clean. And really, I guess the bout kind of failed to catch fire in the way that the majority of heavyweight boxing fans would have hoped. It was a tentative opening. Joshua on the front foot. Parker looking to read Joshua, looking to time Joshua. I did feel that Parker spent too long of this fight fighting at the wrong reins. There was 2 longer periods of this fight that Joseph Parker was stood off Joshua at Joshua's preferred reins, where Parker was the smaller man with the smaller reach, combined with Parker keeping his hands low. So many times Parker's hands were down by his knees rather than in front of his chin, and he spent too long for me at that kind of range, where Joshua was the bigger man, without protecting himself. When Parker did come forward, I felt he had his best success in the fight. I thought when he rushed in and hurried Joshua looked very uncomfortable going backwards. I don't think Joshua's much of a back foot fighter. He kind of didn't look so smooth on the back foot. He kind of ran back and didn't look like he was totally happy being there. But to be honest, when Parker was lunging in, some of those exchanges were slightly desperate. Some of them were slightly slapping, slightly looping. There weren't too many clean, explosive, straight punches from Parker. It was more charging forward, swinging, slapping on the way in. Joshua had a level of success with the jab. I thought Joshua's jab was the better of the two tonight. For me, Parker was standing at the wrong kind of range to be fighting a jabbing game, and his jab was coming up short too regularly. I would have liked to have seen him feint a bit more. I'd have liked to have seen him double jab a bit more. Really, these are things that I've said in the vast majority of Joseph Parker post-fight videos. Ever since I've been covering Joseph Parker, I've been talking about him keeping his hands low. I've been talking about him not utilising that double jab. And I kind of really feel that the frustrations with Parker's career have never truly been ironed out. And whilst he's an excellent fighter, he hasn't actually improved in the last 5 or 6 fights, and he's kind of plateaued in terms of his level, for my money. I thought some of the stuff Parker did in there was highly commendable. I thought his tactic to go to the body was good. I thought his heart and durability was good. The fact he went 12 was impressive. But realistically, I don't think he fought the right tactic to win. I thought there were too many rounds where he was standing off Joshua at Joshua's preferred range. I thought there were certain rounds where he just wasn't doing enough in terms of offensive work to trouble the judges in that round. And I thought there were too many rounds where he was kind of jabbing with, too inaccurately to land on AJ. I thought AJ had improved with that lead left hook. I know he's been working with Vladimir Klitschko on trying to perfect his jab, and maybe Vladimir's talked him through that lead left hook, because that's something that Vladimir used to do quite regularly. And I thought, to be honest, that was probably the most success that that Joshua was having in the fight, was with his lead left hook. But I would say, all in all, it was a less explosive performance from Joshua. Joshua was very, very, very measured. Perhaps it was, the experience he's had in the past from the Dillian Whyte fight, on the Klitschko fight, where he's maybe unloaded his gun a bit more, been a bit more explosive, and potentially punched himself out. He didn't seem to want to get in exchanges like that. He wasn't trying to steamroll Parker like he's tried to steamroll other opponents. Maybe it was respect for Joseph Parker, or maybe it was just the fact that he's been through those learning experiences, and he didn't want to empty the gun so much and risk punching himself out again. My overriding impression was that neither fighter totally got fully into their rhythm during the course of this bout. Parker in particular, it was very stop-start, not consistent. He didn't look like he's found that sort of flow and rhythm in the course of the fight. There'll be a lot of criticism for the referee tonight, who constantly broke the two guys up when they were able to fight up close. My perspective is that was frustrating. The referee was a bit too eager to split them up. I didn't feel it was a defining factor in the fight, but nevertheless, I didn't feel it was ideal, and I didn't think it was contributing to making a good fight. Let's put it that way. I thought that was unnecessary. A lot of the time, when Parker was getting up close, he was kind of burrowing his head down by Joshua's side and kind of slapping to the rib with one arm. I didn't feel it was the most effective inside work, but there were other times, Parker was trying to rush AJ back, and then it was split up, and you did feel it could go on a little bit longer than that. So I guess that was a small frustration with the fight, but overall, my impression here was that AJ was the better guy. He looked like the superior boxer, the superior jabber, the bigger man. I was left with the impression that he probably had the better timing. I was left with the impression that he probably was the bigger puncher in there. And a deserved win for AJ. AJ's now beaten Vladimir Klitschko. He's now beaten Joseph Parker. He's now beaten Dillian Whyte, Dominic Breazeale, Carlos Takam. He's steadily building quite an impressive resume for a guy who's still only had 21 fights, let's not forget. Joseph Parker deserves credit for being the first man to go the distance with AJ, for taking a few rounds off AJ. But really, with Parker, I kind of feel he needs a bit of a change at this stage of his career. Because as I say, I feel like the game plan wasn't quite there to get the job done tonight. And I feel like some of the mistakes in his game have been too obvious for the last 5-10 fights now, and not enough has been done to iron those out, all in all. I would say that some of the invincibility factor has gone with Joshua. We saw him heavily dropped by Klitschko. We saw Takam go 11 with him. Now we've seen Parker go 12. At this stage, you've got fighters like Deontay Wilder who are looking, so devastating, so explosive. And with Joshua, that explosiveness that was there 3, 4, 5 fights ago in his career just seems to have lost. Maybe he's just got too much muscle mass on him. I'm starting to buy into the theory that, those Klitschko fights and those Dillian Whyte fights and those moments where his gas tank has completely emptied has changed his perspective on how he wants to approach fights. And, he's purposely being a bit less explosive, and he's purposely putting less behind his punches because he doesn't want to gas and be in that position again. We'll have to see. But all in all, the era of invincibility has, slightly gone from Joshua. He clearly has the world at his feet right now, unified heavyweight champion. Huge fights await him, whether it's Povetkin, whether it's Wilder, whether it's Jarrell Miller, whether it's a Dillian Whyte rematch, whether it's Tyson Fury. Huge fights await him. As for Joseph Parker, he can certainly come back. He's only 26. He's performed with credit tonight. He's built his celebrity on a global level. He can certainly come back. It's a question of desire for him. He's earned a massive payday today. A payday that means neither he nor his family will probably ever have to work again. So Whether Joseph Parker wants it, now that he's got that much money in the bank, does he want to go into a game where he's having to get up and do all of that hard training? Does he want to take punches and give punches when he's so financially set up? That's a big question. But Parker's a good fighter. He's very solid. He's still in the heavyweight top 5 for my money, and there's still entertaining fights to be made with Joseph Parker if he wants to. It's likely that his next fight will probably be for 10% of the purse that today's fight was, so it's going to be a question of desire, whether he wants to come back and whether he still wants it. All in all, you're left with a slight question over the fight. You kind of feel that both guys could have gambled a little bit more. Joshua probably didn't need to gamble because he knew he was comfortably ahead in the cards. I'd have liked to have seen Parker roll the dice a bit more. For me, the game plan for Parker was to try and get Joshua to the later rounds and then, unload the gun, see what Joshua had left. Maybe Parker had felt the power of Joshua. Maybe Parker himself was tired in the later rounds. I'd have liked to have seen him gamble a bit more, have a bit more output in those late rounds and, roll the dice, risk it, try and, cause Joshua a few more problems. But nevertheless, he performed with credit in a fight that didn't truly catch fire. AJ, 21 and 21, been taking the distance for his first time in his career. A dominant performance tonight. The air of invincibility has slightly dissipated. Extended next day thoughts coming tomorrow. We'll probably be discussing AJ versus all of those future opponents in a little bit more detail, as well as looking at future options for Joseph Parker. If you want to check that out, please hit subscribe. If you're new, you haven't already done so, make sure you tune in, hit the thumbs up button, leave your comments in the section below. Thanks for tuning in, guys.